salmon crispy as on the bottom. Because the pan you put them in were like smoking. Like, I'd expect her to sear a beef in it.
Video games are a lot of things, but before the storytelling, graphics, and borderline abusive microtransaction systems, a video game should be fun, which is a sentiment I feel has been lost on a lot of people, but it certainly wasn't lost on the developers of Overcooked, otherwise known as Ghost Town Games. It's a game that is pure, unadulterated fun. It's one of my favorite party games, and it's the topic of today's video. Overcooked is a game I don't normally talk about, but I thought it would be a fun game to discuss for those who don't know about it. It's easily one of the most fun party games I've played in a very, very long time. As fun as competitive party games like Mario Party, Jackbox, and Gang Beasts are, it's nice to have a party game where everyone focuses as a team to complete a goal, otherwise known as a cooperative party game. Although it could lead to everyone getting arguably more angry at each other.
Jake, take the pot, the pie's finished.
Okay, we have...
The pie's finished, put it on the plate.
Take it out.
No, you put it in the trash!
The game's simple controls and fairly basic gameplay makes the game super easy for anyone to pick up and play, but there is also a level of difficulty and fair progression that if you go through the whole game, you're going to feel a lot more rewarded for the more difficult levels in the game. The gameplay pretty much boils down to preparing meals that correctly correspond to a ticket at the top left corner of your screen. If you complete the ticket, you get money. Get the food out as soon as possible to make more of a tip. If you fail to finish the ticket on time, you lose money and the tickets reset. Complete as many tickets as possible within the time limit and try to get 3 stars. The gameplay mechanics aren't super deep either. You cook and cut food, you have a dash that can knock players out of the way, and you can extinguish fires whenever you forget to take some food off the burner. There's a wide variety of food in the game as well. Several different soups, salads, burritos, fish and chips, pizza, and burgers with no cheese. Genuinely, I do not understand why the burgers don't have cheese. There's literally cheese in the fucking game. I don't understand it. But as previously mentioned, the game's depth comes from the actual levels or kitchens in the game. Each area has a different theme consisting of about 4 or 6 levels each, and each area gets more and more difficult as the game goes on. The first and second areas are honestly pretty simple. There's a kitchen set up on a busy walkway so people will block your path, kind of messing you up. There's a level that splits in half because of an earthquake, so one is a lot higher up and one is a lot lower. A kitchen is infested with rats that will steal your food if you wait too long to pick your food back up. Little fucking bastards. And a kitchen split between 2 trucks that occasionally change speed on a highway. Honestly, they're pretty simple kitchens, but they allow for players to get an actual feel of the game before getting into more complicated levels. Next, there's the water area, which has a boat that rocks the kitchen back and forth, 3 trucks with one moving between one and the other, and my favorite level in the entire game, making fish and chips on an iceberg for penguins. If anyone asks me what the game is all about, the first level I show them is this iceberg level. I just genuinely love it so much, and I think it's just such a cool and funny concept to me. Next, we have the haunted area, which isn't really as creative and it doesn't have as many standout levels. Some of them include a pitch black kitchen that has occasional flashes of lightning. Wow. There's also a kitchen with pots and pans that levitate and switch locations. Wow. This is really creative. Good job, guys. This area is not super interesting and honestly just kind of boring. The music for this area is good though. The next and technically final area or areas is by far the best. There is a very consistent level of quality in this final part of the game, or this final area in the game, which makes it have some of the best kitchens in the entire game. There are both levels in space and also levels in hell. No, I'm not kidding. It's described as the underworld, so it's basically hell. The levels are by far the most interesting out of any of the levels in the game. The hell levels focus on killing you all the time, while the space levels have the player either pressing a button or standing on a platform to open up a new area of the kitchen. These levels are fucking hard. The difficulty curve is a bit jarring since you go from making pizzas on a conveyor belt to literal hellfire being shot at you by Satan himself. But I like them. By far the most creative kitchens in the entire game. Then we have the next area, which is one kitchen from each area to test if you're ready for the final boss. They're good kitchens, but they're not exactly memorable, except for the level that has you running across an iceberg as you desperately try not to fall into the water. I failed a lot. Fuck this level. Then there's the final boss. You have to complete every single ticket before the timer runs out or you fail and you have to completely restart. It's going between two buildings that has a helicopter platform in between that has you running back and forth, making every single meal in the game. It's honestly pretty hard, although I had a weird issue involving the platform slightly moving up and down, causing my character to sometimes get stuck on the platform. It never ruined my run, but it was honestly just a minor inconvenience that came up more often than I would have liked, so I just want to mention it here. But overall, it was a very solid ending to the game and had a decent amount of difficulty that I appreciated. I played the game as a solo player and it took around 3.5 hours to complete the game. I only needed to restart levels a few times in total, and while the game is very much completable as a solo player, it definitely feels like certain kitchens are leaning more towards having 3 or 4 players, and the game is noticeably more difficult on your own. That's if the other people you play with aren't actively trying to fuck you over in the multiplayer. There were multiple times where I only got 3 stars last second. Lots of levels that are split into 4 sections where making a small mistake would cause a restart on solo. I was fine with the increased difficulty, but it's something you might want to be aware of if you want to play the game on solo. The stars that you earn in the game as well aren't just required to progress in the game, but they also give you access to versus levels that I'll talk about in a little bit, and also new chefs. Some standouts are Recrease, Garfield, Orkman, a cardboard box, Oprah Winfrey, and Meals on Wheels, my favorite character in the entire franchise. Look at this cute little fucker. Oh my god, I love him so much. What about the story? Is there one? Kinda. It's like a kid's story, but I mean, story nonetheless. A giant meatball called the Ever Peckish attacks the Onion Kingdom and must be full in order to be defeated. After our failure to satiate the monster's gluttony, the Onion King sends us back in time so that we can become master chefs and have a chance of defeating the Ever Peckish. You then go to the mid-90s to current day, getting better and better at cooking until the final showdown with the Ever Peckish. After finally making him full, he explodes and the story is finished. It's very, very basic, but I don't think you're looking for a Metal Gear type story here. Unless you're a psycho and you want to know how cooking has changed. It's no longer about sauces, the spices, or the calories. An endless series of forever fries and proxy cooks. Cooking has become routine. Chefs wearing ID-tagged hats, ID-tagged spatula. So how about that multiplayer? It's great. There's cooperative play through the main campaign and competitive through the versus mode, which can either be played with 2 sets of 2 players holding 1 controller each, or each player having their own controller, which I thought was awesome. I think it's great that for once there's a game that answers the problem of I have enough people but not enough controllers. I love it. Also, here's a compilation of my roommates and I playing the game on multiplayer.
I want
Tomatoes.
Give me tomatoes. Why'd you
Do we have to slice them up?
the mushroom?
Here, there's a plate right
Cut
here.
it! Cut the mushroom!
Oh shit.
Oh my god,
Put it on a tortilla.
Oh my god.
You're on the.
Why are you giving? You are a fucking
I didn't mean
retard.
to. I don't need.
There's also DLC, 1 free and 1 paid. The first is a Christmas themed DLC that's free. It comes with 8 levels, 2 chefs, and technically 3 new meals. These new meals involve soups with carrots in them, turkey, and fried potatoes and carrots. You cook the turkey, potatoes, and carrots using a flamethrower, which is pretty much the same thing as the fire extinguisher, but with flames and it cooks shit, but it's still a great addition nonetheless. And unfortunately, these meals are only in a few levels, but again, nonetheless, I think it's really cool and I really like their inclusion. The chefs are nice too. We get a reindeer and we get a snowman. They're nice, nothing too crazy, it's just something I wanted to mention. The kitchens and levels themselves are also pretty good, especially the new one with all the new food sprawled out across the kitchen, and the one that pushes you off the kitchen itself. For free content, this DLC is pretty good. good. It took around 40 minutes in total to complete, which is a decent amount of time for this sort of thing. There's no versus maps, which is a little disappointing, but overall, this is a pretty good DLC. Unfortunately, the paid DLC isn't nearly as good. The Lost Morsel DLC is about $5 and consists of 4 new chefs, 8 new levels, no new versus maps, and no new meals. I bought this DLC for $2 on a sale, and I think that this DLC should be worth $3 at most. Not only is the amount of content arguably less than the Christmas DLC, which I'll remind you is free, but the kitchens just aren't very good. The kitchens where you cook burgers with a lane connected to a rail is good, and the kitchen with fireballs and rats is fun, but the kitchen with the pressure plate sucks since the cutting board, half the food boxes, and the dishwasher are all on one side, meaning for a two-player experience, one person is doing significantly more work than the other. The final kitchen where you make pizzas and the points of interest fall through the floor and end up somewhere else honestly is one of, if not the worst kitchen in the entire game. Not only is the gimmick just lame, but we get one cutting board. It feels so lazy and uninspired when we have so many interesting concepts that could be built upon, especially for the last level, but there just isn't. I wish that they would have built more upon that fireball idea. Build more upon the rat idea. We don't see that enough in the game. I think it would have been interesting if we saw more of that. The only part justifying the price of this DLC is the chefs. We get 2 bears, a grizzly bear and a panda bear, a dinosaur, and a robot. They're nice, sure. I like them. They look cool and they're kind of cute, but does it make this DLC worth $5? Hell no. Compared to the free DLC included in this game, Lost Morsel is just not worth it. I don't like that I'm saying this, especially since I think the game is so incredibly solid, but the DLC is unfortunately weak, and if I were you, I would pass on this and save the money. Buy a chocolate bar or something, I don't know. Overall though, Overcooked is a wonderful experience. The gameplay is simple and inviting, the kitchens are creative and challenging, and the multiplayer is a blast. While the DLC doesn't live up to the other content, especially the paid DLC, this game on its own is an incredibly solid package and one of my favorite cooperative games. I highly recommend picking this game up and giving it a shot. I'll be covering the second game soon, so keep an eye out for that. But anyway, that's all for me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. More stuff is on the way very, very soon. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you all later. Bye.